Pardon the interruption, but I'm Bill Simmons. Wilbon has the day off, so I'm excited to host with my Uncle Tony.
I'm Tony Kornheiser. Just don't get us suspended.
Come on.
We have history.
Too soon.
You and I both have history. We end up on vacation.
They should call this show Thin Ice.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. And at my weight, I could go through and take you with me. You wouldn't want that. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, DeAndre Jordan gets confused. Floyd Mayweather is already messing with Manny. And with Wilbon off, I'm joined by our good friend from Grantland, Bill Simmons. Good job out of you. But we begin today with the end of the Vince Wilfork era in New England. The Patriots today declined to pick up Wilfork's option, making him a free agent and making Tom Brady the last of New England's multiple Super Bowl winners. Bill, the Patriots are your team.
Yes, they are.
Wilfork was an effective player this season. Do you understand why Bill Belichick did this?
Because he's Bill Belichick. This is what he does. Drew Bledsoe, Lawyer Malloy, Ty Law, Willie McGinnis. This is the pattern. This is all going to end. This is my fear as a Patriots fan. This all ends in like 2 years with him waving Tom Brady.
That's got to happen
This
eventually,
is it. Like,
doesn't
it comes all the way full circle. They got rid of Bledsoe, then they get rid of Brady. That's my fear.
I want to draw two distinctions, okay?
What is it?
One with the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers leaked that they wanted Troy Polamalu to retire so they wouldn't have to cut him. The Patriots owned this. They did it on their own. They are a resolute team. They know everybody hates them. They don't care.
And
it's
it
their
saved their
identity.
cap, though.
And that's the other thing. And the other thing I want to draw a distinction is with somebody like Chip Kelly, who at the moment is a wannabe. So
You calling him a wannabe already?
he wants to be Bill Belichick. So he cuts somebody or he trades somebody like LaShawn McCoy, and people say, wow, what is that guy doing? But Belichick, if you go to 6 Super Bowls, you can do anything, and people will say you're a genius, and that's what they say.
Well, Belichick felt that way anyway, but then they deflated Deflategate. He outwitted Pete Carroll in the last minute. He pulled a Jedi mind trick on him, won the Super Bowl. I think he's going to show up for the sidelines next year in pajamas. I think that's his last move.
Because
he's going to be like the rich guys who just go outside in pajamas. That's going to be Bill Belichick.
So it's not necessarily a hef move. It's just an old rich guy move.
It's like a hef combination, rich guy combination. I've won 4
Is
Super
he
Bowls.
making a mistake cutting Wilfork?
Wilfork wasn't like the dominant Wilfork that he was, and they needed the cap space. I mean, this is how it ends with the Patriots. The fans know we accept this. We have a coach that is always going to get rid of somebody a year early rather than a year too late. That's just how it goes. Would you rather get somebody a year late or a year early?
What is interesting about it to me is that Wilfork wrote a letter saying he'd be a Patriot for life, that he was going to live in the New England area. So it's almost like the pact you make with the devil is if you join that team, you're going to have a chance to win, but you're going to have to accept that you may go out a little bit earlier than you want to.
So we'll write letters to our fans of ESPN when we go someday.
Someday or this afternoon?
Okay, Tony, Russell Westbrook is throwing up so many triple-doubles that he's starting to make Ice Cube jealous. You don't get that reference.
No, I don't.
Last night, he only tossed up 49, 16, and 10, along with the greatest coast-to-coast vine dunk ever. He did this while wearing a mask. He should just put on a Bane mask. Uncle Tony, is Westbrook the NBA's new alpha dog?
Let's count the references I don't get. Vine, Ice Cube, and Bane mask. I don't. Is he the new alpha?
Bane mask is from Batman.
I get what alpha dog is.
Yeah.
To me, that means is he the best player in the NBA? He's not the best player. LeBron is the best player. He's the angriest player. He is the chestiest player. I've never seen a guy with talent like that who has what appears to be an inferiority complex because he's always banging him. Saying, how great am I? You're great. You're great.
Right.
Why are you so angry?
Curry and Westbrook, because he's put up 33, 7, and 7 in the last 4 games. With that said, I think Westbrook is the alpha dog in this respect. Every game, he wants to win that game more than anyone else wants to win the game. And he does this 82 games a year. This is a league where guys don't play 82 games like that. I think he's the successor to Kobe. He's this guy who it really matters to him that he's trying to win game 51 in Sacramento. It's like the most important thing in his life.
A, he got hurt for a bunch of games this year, so he's not playing them all.
That wasn't his fault.
And B, the 4 straight triple-doubles, as great as that is, they've only won 2 of those games.
True.
If you're going to be the MVP and his name is out there for MVP, your team's got to make the playoffs. It's reasonable to believe that New Orleans will not let Oklahoma City make the playoffs. So it's one of those 2 teams,
okay, so he's
right?
making the playoffs.
Oh, well. Oh, so is he your MVP at the moment?
No, I would have Harden. I think Harden means the most to his team. But the thing with Westbrook that I love is not just that he cares the most, but that he's just when he does the coast-to-coast stuff, And people have said, like, oh, we've never seen this before. We've seen this before. Young Kobe was like this. Young Wade was like this. Like, he's the successor to those guys. He has a chance to be one of the best 5 guards of all time.
Does it bother you at all, the fact that he projects so angry all the time?
That's what he does.
Do you think it's possible, by
Ray
the way,
Lewis was like that.
within the next 2 years that Oklahoma City will lose both stars?
Yes.
That they'll both leave?
I think it's very possible, and I think they're very afraid of it.
You got the guys one of the best 5 guards of all time?
No, I said it's potentially. It's in play.
Well,
it's a good thing.
at the end of regulation last night, with the score tied, DeAndre Jordan held the ball in his hands directly under the Portland basket, and he simply held it, despite Chris Paul flailing at Jordan to shoot. The shot clock had buzzed, and Jordan apparently thought it was the game clock. We don't know for sure because Jordan refused to speak to the media after Portland won the game.
God forbid.
After Portland won the game in overtime. Bill, is this an understandable mistake by your boy DeAndre Jordan?
Well, first of all, I'd like to apologize to the beat writers who didn't get their generic DeAndre Jordan postgame quote.
He's a pretty good talker.
Lord knows
most
my
of the
life would have
time.
been enriched.
Well, you write on a website, you write 8,000 words, you don't need quotes. What's the difference?
The shot clock went off. He thought it was the buzzer. Isn't that the coach's job to tell him the shot clock is going to go off before the buzzer? I blame Doc Rivers. And also, DeAndre Jordan is in the middle of the greatest contract run we've seen since Jerome James in the 2005 playoffs. DeAndre Jordan has 201 rebounds in the last 10 games. He's out of his mind. He's turned into Will Chamberlain. I do not hold this against him.
Please.
He's the new Will Chamberlain.
Don't compare him
Not
to
as
Will
many
Chamberlain.
kids.
He doesn't even shoot foul shots as well as
shoots
Will
free.
Chamberlain.
They're about the same.
I mean, he's worse. And
201
Will Chamberlain would have
rebounds.
taken that ball and Chris Paul and dunked them both because he was that strong.
And it kind of obscured the fact, because I watched this game. We went to dinner and then you went to sleep.
Yeah,
because you're older than I am.
Well, yeah, by a lot. But the dinner was great.
The
Thank
dinner
you
was
for
great.
picking it up.
You're welcome. But it obscured the fact that the Clippers choked in that game. They blew like a 10-point lead in the last 2.5 minutes.
Are you troubled at all by the fact that this late in the season, people like Blake Griffin and Dwight Howard and Kevin Durant, there's so many people out. What happens when they get back? How does that affect the lineup in the playoffs?
Well, you know, my theory on this is I think these guys play so hard now. If you watch a game on ESPN Classic from 30 years ago, the guys weren't playing defense. Now every play matters, and I don't know if their bodies can hold up for 100 games. Hey, Houston lost a nail-biter to Memphis last night, partially because, listen to this, James Harden did not get a call. He complained afterwards, and so did Coach Kevin McHale, because the refs briefly forgot that James Harden is supposed to get every single call. Uncle Tony, sour grapes?
Partially. I mean, I think he got hit, and I understand that. But, I mean, my comment on James Harden would be that he's an extraordinarily physical player.
Yep.
He hits people all the time. He initiates contact. He kicked LeBron in the groin the other night.
I didn't appreciate that.
So my sense of him is, okay, if you don't get a call this time, too bad, because of all the fouls you have made over a long period of time. Great player. Now we're talking about, it's so odd. I think James Harden and Russell Westbrook, and I know you love them both, I think they're just, for fans sometimes, if you don't root for that team, they're a little hard to like.
I think Houston has turned into the stealth villain of the league. And there's this whole internet version of what Houston is, and people love to hate on Houston. I don't know if it's transferred nationally yet. James Harden, the way he plays, he just is always going to get fouls.
Yeah.
He either shoots threes or gets fouls. It's kind of like Groundhog Day watching him. He's fantastic, but it's kind of the same thing over and over again. Daryl Morey's always getting infused with people now. He's pushing that advanced metrics thing. Dwight Howard is the least fun player to watch in the league.
There's no question.
There's nobody less fun to watch than Dwight Howard. And Patrick Beverley is an agitator. So
if he ever gets back, if Dwight Howard ever gets back, he will make up for whining. Like, he'll complain about every single call he doesn't get. They're a very good team.
They're very good. They're a contender.
When Kevin McHale played, did he whine about every call?
All the time.
So is that possible transference?
All the time.
You know, they saw him do that, and they said, this is what we're supposed to do?
I think people need to be prepared. This is a playoff team that America is not going to like, but in a fun way. Not like, the Miami Heat thing got a little personal in 2011.
Harden's a great player.
This will be a fun stealth villain.
He throws people around.
Yeah.
Wayne Tinkle, your boy, the Oregon State head coach, started 5 walk-ons last night against Oregon on senior night. Tinkle had no seniors. The walk-ons were bad. They were yanked after 32 seconds and 3 straight turnovers, and they were down 3-0. The final margin of the game, which Oregon State lost, was 3. Tinkle was undeterred, proudly saying, quote, "There might be people criticizing me. I don't care. I would do it all over again," unquote. Bill, should he?
First of all, move over Dick Trickle. There's a new sheriff in town. And his name is Wayne Tinkle.
Yeah.
Is that really his name?
Yes, that's actually his name.
He's not an Anchorman?
I don't think he changed it to Wayne Tinkle.
He's not an Anchorman 3? He's not one of the cast
no.
members? Okay.
Did he do the right thing?
No. No, he didn't, because a coach's job and a leader's job is to protect their players. He put these 5 walk-ons in, and in 32 seconds, they turned the ball over 3 times.
Right.
And look, it's great that they played, but is this going to be an experience they're going to be bragging about 50 years ago to their grandkids?
I think Oregon State should be very proud of what happened. I think all those players, they're in-state kids. What happened was that team was decimated with player loss and turnover after a coaching change. And the coach appealed to the student population at large. He wanted to get walk-ons. He needed them for practice and all of that. And these kids went through the whole season. I think he felt he had a commitment. It's senior night. He has no seniors, a commitment to their hearts.
But couldn't you have done it in a way where you just played 2 at a time? Did you have to play all 5?
Put him out there.
Turn the ball over 3 times? How is that fun to turn the ball over 3 times?
The backstory seems to be that, Oregon State was going to make the NCAAs. No, they're not. They weren't going to make it. They were 8-9 in the conference. They were 17-12 before this game. They're not. I mean, it's not. Look, they're not going to make it. They're not going to make it. What they did, they can be proud of. Everybody in that community can be proud of this. I think the guy did the right thing. I do.
I don't like when you give heartwarming takes. That's not the Tony that I know. Tony, you know how Freddie Roach trains Manny Pacquiao, and you know how Manny has a big fight with Floyd Money Mayweather coming up? Well, Roach claimed that Money's camp has been paying Manny's potential sparring partners not to spar with Manny. Interesting. Gamesmanship or dirty pool?
It's very, very smart. It's totally smart. Why wouldn't you do everything you could to help your fighter and hurt the other fighter from getting an edge on your fighter? You know how you solve this? If the Pacquiao camp wants these sparring partners, bid for them. Pay for them. I mean, they shouldn't have to walk in there and work an hourly rate that like they're at a fast food joint. Pay them if you need them so much.
It's good. It's a free market.
Yeah.
I think this fight's going to be a blowout. I think Floyd is going to destroy Manny. And I think all this stuff is just generating false interest in this fight that would have been a good fight 4 years ago that Floyd would have won. And since then, he's the same, and Manny's gotten worse. And Manny got knocked out for a minute by Marquez. You get knocked out for a minute. You're never the same after you get knocked out like that, as you know.
I think, well, having been knocked out as often as I've been knocked out, I think you will see this hype continue in ways like this. I agree with you that it's not the fight that people hope it's going to be.
No, it's not Hagler-Hearns
And I was trying to come
all.
up with like old singers that this would work with, and everyone I tossed off with you had not even heard this. And so I think I'd like to settle on going to a concert with Tom Jones and Madonna, where it's not who they used to be at some point. By the way,
no, that's not fair to Floyd.
No, he's good.
Floyd is still an A-lister.
Okay, so Tom Jones.
I think Manny has kind of hung on for this fight, and I'm worried about his safety in it.
By the way, if you want to box with somebody who'll approximate Floyd Mayweather, pay Floyd Mayweather. Spar with him.
I thought you were going to say Tom Jones.
No, let's take a break. Coming up, will Peyton Manning get his pay cut back by winning the Super Bowl?
And could Emmanuel Mudiay be the surprise #1 pick in the NBA draft?
Why did this segment go by so fast and leave me panting?
I don't know. I'm sweating.
I'm not used to this pace. Oh, we'll have to hose you down.
Armpit sweat.
Yeah, well...
Pardon the Interruption is presented by the latest beer from Guinness. Guinness Blonde American Lager. Please drink responsibly. Part of Happy Hour. And in part by Midas. At Midas, we'll tell you what needs fixing now and what can wait. Trust the Midas touch.
The Guinness...
Welcome back to Pardon the Interruption, presented by Guinness Blonde American Lager, part of Happy Hour.
Welcome back to the PTI Psychic Hotline. A bit I understand Bill Simmons stole from us.
We paid homage to it.
Stole from us. Let us take the first
Hey, Tony. Hey, Bill. Do you see Peyton Manning getting his pay cut back by winning the Super Bowl?
I don't. I know he could get $2 million back by making the Super Bowl. He could get the full $4 million back by winning the Super Bowl. I'd like to see him win a Super Bowl because he's got the reputation as a guy who isn't great in the playoffs. At least 2 Super Bowls would make that happen. I don't know how they get better than Indianapolis, who they lost to in the playoffs. I don't know how they get better than New England, who they lost to in the regular season. I don't.
First of all, Kobe took a lot of crap for this when he took the most money possible. Brady took, I think, 8, 9, 10 million, somewhere in there last year, and they were able to
Brady's
get Darrelle
wife
Revis.
makes $60 million a year.
Well, maybe Manning should have married a supermodel. But here's the thing. I think he's a 3-month quarterback now. You got to be a 5-month quarterback to win a Super Bowl. I don't think his body can hold up for 5 months. It's like he's already like a house of cards, and he tweaks his calf. All of a sudden, he's done. He can't throw the ball. My advice to them I would sit him September, October. I would only play him November, December, January.
You'd pull a Greg Popovich, wouldn't you?
I
What's
would
next?
totally Popovich it.
Hey, Tony. Hey, Bill. Do you see Chip Kelly landing Marcus Mariota?
I don't. The Eagles, what are they going to dangle to move up from number 20, maybe 15 or 18 spots? You would dangle LaShawn McCoy. They just traded LaShawn McCoy. And by the way, why would any team in their right minds enable Chip Kelly to run the offense that he likes with a guy that he recruited and a guy he coached? So, no, I don't see this happening.
Well, first of all, he might not have to move up to 2 because the mock drafts have Mariota going 6.
Still has to move up 14.
Right, but that's next year's first, next year's second. You throw in something else. For me, it depends on what he thinks of him because I think the guys that coach the people in college, you remember the Buffalo coach a couple years ago, the Syracuse QB was coming in and he ended up not drafting him.
He didn't take him.
And he knew something. And if he knows something about Mariota, nobody's going to have a better instinct on whether this guy is great or not than somebody who just spent 4 years with him. The Celtics wanted to get Gordon Hayward for the same reason because Brad Stevens knew Gordon Hayward was really good. These guys know. So I think they're going to get him.
You do?
I do.
Next. You're wrong.
Hey, Tony. Hey, Bill. Do you see Emmanuel Mudiay going first in the NBA draft?
Third time in a row, I'm leading with the same 2 words. I don't. I mean, look, I wish that Mudiay had gone to SMU and played for my old camp counselor, Larry Brown, because they'd have a shot at maybe a top 5 ranking at this point. He went instead for money. Don't blame him at all. He played in China, where he didn't play that many games.
Nope.
And I don't think you can evaluate how somebody's going to do in the NBA against everybody in the Chinese basketball league. I mean, I'm thinking that Okafor or Towns is going to go number 1 because people look at Anthony Davis in New Orleans and they say, if we can get that, let's get it.
I think it's wide open. The difference with Mudiay, and I think some people have the mistaken perception, this is like a Sebastian Telfair thing or something. This kid's 6'5".
Oh, he's much
This
bigger
kid's
than
built
Telfair.
like Tyreek Evans, John Wall, some of those other guys. And, you know, he had a pretty good experience overseas. He got hurt, he did whatever, but, he played in a couple big games at least. I think this is wide open. My thing is, last year we had Riggin for Wiggins and Sorry for Jabari. I don't know what we do with Mudiay. Like bidet for Mudiay? What do we do?
That's why we get suspended, because you go there.
What?
Next!
I didn't go anywhere.
Hi, Tony. Hey, Bill. Do you see Steph Curry ever embarrassing himself by pre-celebrating?
I'm sure that's going to happen to him. I'm sure that he's going to release a shot. It's going to look great and feel great. It'll just graze the rim and it won't go in. But he's not going to do what Nick Young did, the old swaggy P move where you turn your back and then you hear it clang off the rim and it doesn't work. Right now, to me, perfection is watching Steph Curry shoot. And even with that, even with the fact that he's making 50, just graze the rim and it won't go in. But he's not going to do what Nick Young did, the old swaggy P move where you turn your back and then you hear it clang off the rim and it doesn't work. Right now, to me, perfection is watching Steph Curry shoot. And even with that, even with the fact that he's making 52% of his threes this month so far, he's still missing 1 out of 2. It's going to happen.
I agree with you that it's going to happen, but I saw him in person in Brooklyn on Monday night. And when he gets hot, it is the most exciting thing that's going to happen in any basketball game you can attend. You can feel it. The crowd changes. The bench is standing. And he's ready to shoot from 30 feet. And he's got that kind of confidence. I mean, Larry Bird used to do this stuff in the mid-'80s. There was one time he was taking free throws. The Clipper fans weren't booing enough. He stepped back and went like this to the fans. You need that confidence. I think he's going to keep doing this, and they'll always go in.
I like watching, of the smaller players in the NBA, I like watching Curry and Kyrie Irving more than anybody else.
And Isaiah
Love
Thomas
the way they do it.
of the rejuvenated Boston Celtics.
Not that Isaiah Thomas. That's it. No more calls. We're taking one last break. But in our future, I see Bill having some thoughts on JaVale McGee spurning his Celtics.
I didn't like that. And the Bears may trade Brandon Marshall. Who would like Jay Cutler? And would that make any sense?
Depends on what you get, doesn't it?
Jay Cutler would have no friends.
And how many does he have now exactly?
He has Brandon Marshall.
Well, that would be tough on Jay Cutler.
He'd be all alone.
He doesn't have Wilbon.
You love working with your hands. Turn that passion into a lifelong career. At Lamson Institute, you can get the hands-on skills you need to become an electrical technician in as little as 9 months. Learn to wire, install, troubleshoot, and repair electrical components and systems for today's residential and commercial uses. Get started now by calling 210-306-4846. Lamson Institute. 9 months of training, a lifetime of skills.
Here it is.
Pardon the Interruption is presented by the latest beer from Guinness. Guinness Blonde American Lager. Please drink responsibly. Part of Happy Hour.
Happy time, kids. Happy 41st birthday, Kevin Connolly. The news here isn't that there's an Entourage movie coming out. Everybody knew that. The news is Kevin Connolly is going to play a character in an upcoming Fox sitcom based on Matthew Berry's career at ESPN as a fantasy sports expert. How can I not get a walk-on in that?
You don't want to walk out on that. It's not a sitcom. It's an erotic thriller.
Really?
Yeah.
Kevin Connolly's your boy, right? Didn't he direct for you?
He directed. He helped us win an Emmy.
Yeah. Not so happy anniversary to this pitcher in Cuba. On this day 5 years ago, the batter that you plunked responded by chasing you with his bat into center field. What would be so great was if this Cuban batter was the same guy who took 41 seconds to round the bases after a recent homer, but it would have taken him an hour to get to center field.
When I was a kid, George Boomer Scott chased Dennis Martinez in the center field, not with a bat, but very exciting moment in my life.
Dennis Martinez ran like crazy.
Ran like crazy.
It's
always fun when a pitcher's running like crazy.
Happy trails to JaVale McGee signing with the Celtics.
Oh.
It was being reported all day that the free agent McGee was joining the Celtics, but it turns out McGee and the Celtics could not agree on the terms of his contract for next season, so the deal is off. Bill, you were telling anyone who would listen that McGee was going to lead the Celtics to the NBA Finals. What are you saying now?
I wasn't saying that. I think he was like 9-9 and 3 blocks a game in the 2012 playoffs. I wanted to see him with a real coach. I was kind of excited for him.
Brad Stevens would have been good for him.
Great. He's a top 5 coach.
He was with George Karl for about a minute and a half.
Yeah, that's it.
Producers say no errors and no suspensions. Good job, Billy.
Well,
good
we did
job.
have to do one take over again.
We're running out of the show. We go to the big finish. Ian Rappaport reports the Bears are, quote, exploring trade options, unquote, for Brandon Marshall. Does that make sense?
Considering they've never really won anything, yes. Darnell Dockett signed with the Niners. Think the Cards are kicking themselves?
No, that's the risk you take. It's like if Wilfork signs with the Buffalo Bills, you let a guy go, you think that's it. You can't, no. Anthony Davis had 39 points, 13 rebounds, and 8 blocks in his return. Would you rather have him or Westbrook?
No contest, Davis. He's younger. He hasn't had the 3 knee surgeries, and he's like 6'11". Of course, I'd rather have Davis.
Even though you had Westbrook as maybe one of the 5 best guards of all time.
Anthony Davis is 21. The NFL Network says the Raiders will have Ndamukong Suh in for a visit next week. Why would he do that? Could you see him playing there?
He looks like a Raider. He acts like a Raider, but I think the Raiders are too many years away from winning. Suh doesn't have that much time. He's going to go to a better team than that.
Giants.
Last one, Thunder at Bulls tonight. Does Westbrook get a 5th